What is the friendship recession?
One of the most valuable skills that people will need to cultivate in the era of AI and social media is the ability to connect and create community. The way we see things going, we see less and less people have long-term friendships. We see less and less people making new committed friendships, which also means we're like not in a community that can hold us accountable to being better.
Sure.
So in the age of AI and social media, we're experiencing more and more isolation, which therein lies also a highlight, a little asterisk as to where the opportunity is. Because the more we see tech take over, the more we see AI take over, the more we see people switch off their brains, because that's what's happening with AI. I'll just have AI do it. AI is smarter than me. I'll just kind of switch off my brain. Even though it's a great tool, most people will switch off their brain. And we're switching off our brain not only from an intelligence perspective, we're switching off our brain from a relationship perspective.
Sure.
Like we've lost the ability to create relationships, maintain relationships, and not just one-to-one relationships. We're losing the ability to create community and connection, which means one of the most desirable traits in a person today will be the ability to create relationships and create community.
Yeah. I mean, we're hearing a lot right now about these third spaces where people can go and gather, and it used to be coffee shops or bars or gyms or whatever, and people aren't convening together anymore. COVID obviously had a big part to do with that, but the friendship recession is really because people aren't getting as much out of relationships anymore. Whereas before, if you wanted to go do something and you wanted to be entertained or you wanted to go out there and, try a new restaurant or whatever, you'd have to call up a friend or maybe go by yourself and get out there yourself. Now, from Uber Eats to Postmates, everything comes to you. Entertainment comes to you. Food comes to you. Experiences come to you. And so at this point, we don't really need each other or feel like we need each other to have these great experiences. And so we're having virtual experiences every day, but we're not having transformational experiences. I think also too, social media is fooling us into thinking that we're actually seen. Like, shares, comments, we feel like we're being seen, but are we being known?
Yeah.
I think that's the real impact that we're going to start to see is a huge increase of insecurity in individuals who don't have friends because they don't feel authentic to themselves, because they don't know who they really are, apart from how they're performing or how they're projecting on the screen.
When you said friendship recession, the first thing that came to mind was a self-esteem recession.
Sure.
Because I also see a generation of folks that want to be in front of people less and less. Now, for really like two flip side reasons. If you spend 3 to 6 hours a day in your phone consuming social media, this device makes you laugh. This device makes you smile. This device might, from time to time, if you see something inspirational, make you cry. This device will occupy your attention when you're bored. Funny enough, most of the content that we see on a day-to-day basis on our phone, we can laugh really, really hard. We can see a cat video. We can see a political meme that makes us laugh, and we have to share it with a friend. But what happens is we're amusing ourselves to death. There's actually a great book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And when we get in front of real people, compared to that, they seem boring.
Mm-hmm.
They seem boring because I've had this device deceive me into thinking
the dopamine
that
addiction.
Laughing this much, being entertained this much, consuming this much is normal.
Yeah.
But it is a dopamine addiction. So when you go like sit across the table with a real human being,
slow.
It feels slow. Because every 15 seconds, I can have a new hit. Every 30 seconds, I can have a new hit. A dinner, hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
On that.
You can't swipe up on that. You can't. And so at the same time, though, that same device degrades our self-esteem over time, degrades our self-esteem a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And the result of that is we don't want to be seen in front of people because people who have low self-esteem don't want to be seen.
Sure. Why is it so hard to make friends as we get older?
Because we're less likely to adapt and change as we get older. That's why. And so new relationships cause us to have to adapt and change. And so we make less of them because we're set in our ways. Like when we're in our 20s and our 30s, we're in that stage of life where we're like, let's go after it. Let's create this thing. Let's get together and achieve. Let's do this. Let's do that. We're much more willing to act and adapt. Act at the outset, adapt at resistance and rejection. But once comfort takes over, once enough money takes over, once enough benefits take over, once okay relationships, not even great relationship, but just okay relationships settle into our life, we're so less likely to create new relationships because new relationships equal uncertainty, and we don't like uncertainty. Even if the thing we're certain about right now makes us miserable or it's just kind of mediocre.